be a part of a system that he knows has a history of murdering and brutalizing black people specifically and marginalized people in general. Every day he puts on that uniform, he decides who he will be. And regardless of who he is to you, you cannot expect black people to be perceptive to individuals that align themselves with a system that allows them to murder, brutalize, and in turn jail their people. Because for me, like I said, I don't get to choose whether I get to live or die by the gun of someone like his father. Black people don't get to choose whether they live or die when they are confronted by a pig. They either get lucky or they die. They either get lucky or they die. They don't get that choice the way his father did. And that is exactly what I mean when I say by any means necessary. So when people say not all cops are bad, I think of Philando's daughter, who had to feel the blood of her father's body splattered on her 4-year-old carcass as Pig Geronimo Yanez screamed into his ear. I think about Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, who will have to live with the trauma of knowing that she died right in front of him and they put him in jail first. And her killers never, ever got charged. I want you all to think of what that would feel like to lose someone that you know and nothing is done simply because you don't matter. Because you don't matter. I think of George Floyd's daughter. Every time she looks up her father's names, yes, she will know that his face ignited a movement, but she will see that video, that 9-minute video that we all were forced to watch. She will see that. The video of her father's windpipe being crushed under the weight of white pig named Derek Chauvin. She will see as her father's last breath was ripped away from his body as he suffocated under the knee of a police officer. And I apologize for the gruesome picture, but it is important that we understand the depths of what debt does to a human being. Debt sanctioned by the state nonetheless, the same government that is sworn to protect its citizens. And now, I have to add Daunte Wright's daughter to that list because she too will suffer the same fate that George Floyd's daughter will, that Breonna Taylor's boyfriend will, of being forced to watch murderers murder and nothing happened. Black people have been and are killed by local law enforcement so often that our deaths have become skippable because of the way they've become almost synonymous with American culture. The state-sanctioned murder of black and brown bodies has been occurring since the first black people were ripped off the very shores of Africa. So when you see people looting a Hermes or vandalizing a Louis, that is not recently manifested anger. That is not new. That is anger that runs within our roots, within our bloods, within our ancestors. That is anger that is generational. So that anger of seeing the same continuation of black oppression over and over and over and over again, it's real. And it does not matter if it was under Obama or Trump or Nixon or Clinton, because it's all cyclical, because that is how the system was made, to work against us. So I want y'all to remember, it doesn't matter who's at the head of the table if the table has a broken foundation. So I want to end again with why we are here. With why we are here. That is why we are here. Because we are the ones that must now take on the duty. We are the ones that will push forth this revolution and dismantle the racist, capitalist, imperialist system that allows black lives to be reduced to target practices with pigs with an ego problem. And that is why, if y'all look around, it's not just black people in this crowd no more, right? Look around you real quick, one more time. Take a look around you. This is why the old racist white people hate us, because a lot of us in the revolution, y'all look like them. Okay, this fight is not one colored anymore. We got color codes of all area codes. And that is what power looks like. And they hate that shit. This unification for black liberation and liberation for all oppressed people scares them because they know that they quite literally cannot erase all of us, right? They can't kill all of us. And we are not a generation that lets the fuck up. We are the generation that we will rewrite the scripts of history. And I am confident about this because look at us here today. There's something moving about seeing so much youth also power the movement, power these protests. It's invigorating to say the least. And that speaks highly to our generation's courage. That speaks highly to our generation's courage. Every time we come to a protest, we are risking our lives. And sometimes I think we forget that. In these last few months, despite the peaceful protests, we have lost comrades. And again, we are just at the beginning of this revolution. So I know y'all are tired, but keep fucking fighting. We have lost comrades that have been both black and white. They lost their lives fighting for this movement. They lay to rest alongside George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Emmett Till, Daunte Wright, Moses Harris, Terrence Coleman, and so many fucking more. So when we come out here, we remind ourselves what we are risking and what and who we are risking our lives for. Because now we are also marching for them, and our work does not end here. Our work does not end here. It is not only about going to protest. It is about doing the work both on and offline. It is about committing yourself to this movement with every core of your being because a lot of us here are fighting for survival. If you are not fighting for survival, fight like you are. Fight like you are. Use your privilege and fight like hell for those who can't, for those that have been lost. It is about dedicating the rest of your life to battling white supremacy and embodying anti-racism. To reading, to learning, to then educating, and to intentionally then fighting. To be a warrior in this movement and ally for this cause is to do everything within your power to dismantle capitalism and white supremacy, because the two are indeed synonymous. Because capitalism cannot survive without racism, and racism does not exist. It does not exist without the confines of capitalism. So we must dedicate ourselves to eradicating these systems and building a new foundation. One that is built in abolition, one that is built in liberation, and one that is ultimately built in love. In hopes that the generations that come after us are not forced to fight still, are not forced to suffer the same fate that we have had to, that generations before us have had to. So it is on us now, comrades, to do the necessary work. Because until all of us are free, none of us are free. Because black liberation results in the liberation of all oppressed people, poor people, women, indigenous folk, the LGBTQIA community, the disabled community, and I go on to the BIPOC community. So I'll end here, and I want y'all to repeat after me. Liberation. Liberation. Liberation.
Liberation.
By any means necessary.
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 Thank you, comrades.
Make some noise for Yuri. All right, up next, I'm gonna put Diani from Boston Mayday Coalition. Make some noise for Diani, y'all. Not loud enough. Make some noise for Diani, y'all.
How's everybody doing out there? Wasn't that a fun march? All I want to say is, this morning started off with, Moses Harris's funeral was this morning. He didn't survive the police. Daunte did not survive the police. I know that there are people in this audience right now, black and brown people, who have survived the police. Now, what does that mean? We all come out because another black man died. But all of my allies, or I like to say now, co-conspirators, you know what's going on. You're out here because a black man is dead, but you do have friends around you who have survived. I am one of them. Okay?
Let's go.
Not just one time, many times. By doing nothing. A few years ago, I was in Oklahoma City, and I decided to leave my friend's house at 6 o'clock in the evening, and it was dark. It was dark, and 2 cop cars pulled over in a matter of seconds. I was just walking down the street. They pulled me over. I'm from Connecticut, all right? First, it was my first time, being in that, the part of the country, but it doesn't matter where you are, right? So they pulled me over. You know what they asked me?
What?
Why was I there? Why are you walking? And if some of you guys know me, I love my fashion. I had on designer clothes, okay? You know what I mean? I had my designer shit on. They're pulling me over. I'm looking fabulous. You know what I mean? Looking fabulous. And these motherfuckers had the audacity to ask me for my ID. And of course I complied because there's 2 officers. Guns on their hip. Okay? So they made me sit on the grass in my designer motherfucking clothes. Do you understand the humiliation? The stripping of your dignity? This conversation about lives people have lost their lives at the hands of police. Understand, people, my white people, my co-conspirators in the audience, is that it's more than just a dead man or a dead woman. It's the stripping of dignity.
That's right.
This is very serious, guys. And by the way, on that night, when they let me go, I went to where I had to get to, and I was distraught. Guess what happened?
What?
When I walked back, 2 more cop cars pulled me over. Didn't believe that I was staying at my friend's place, had me get in the cop car. This Oklahoma City. I think about that shit every day. Okay? I'm mad. I'm sad. I want to see all of you out. Not just when a person dies. This is every day. So this is your duty. I know some of you have been missing over the winter, but guess what? It's spring now. And like someone said before earlier about making sure you have family members, because if you know, then that means you're a co-conspirator with us, because we know how things work. So no, it's your duty to make sure they conspire with you. I just want to end with a chant, because I can keep on going on and on. Actually, you know what? I know some of you have on Facebook someone, I don't know who the author of this poem, but I'm just gonna read this, and that'll be the end of that. I need to run some errands to ensure I arrive alive I won't take public transit. Oscar Grant. I remove all air fresheners from the vehicle and double check my registration status. Daunte Wright. And ensured my license plates were visible. Lieutenant Karen Nazario. I will be careful to follow all traffic rules. Philando Castile. Signal every turn. Sandra Bland. Keep the radio volume low. Jordan Davis. And won't stop at a fast food chain for a meal. Rayshard Brooks. I am too afraid to pray. Reverend Clementa Pickney. So I just hope the car won't break down. Corey Jones. When you run errands today, be sure not to dance. Elijah McLean. And you know what else? Be sure not to dance. Shimmy.
Shimmy.
That's another thing. He's out here. They already know. Oh my God. Free Shimmy.
Free shimmy.
All right. Excuse me. Lord, I forgot. Okay. And be sure not to dance. Elijah McLean. Stop to play in the park. Tamir Rice. Patronize the local convenience store for snacks. Mike Brown. Open once home. Don't stand in your backyard. Stephen Clark. Eat ice cream on your couch. Botham Jean. Or play any video games. Tatiana Jefferson. I guess I'll watch a movie around 7:30 p.m. I won't leave the house to go to Walmart, John Crawford, or go to the gym. Tyshawn Oates, or on the jog, Omar Arbery. I will just sit and remember what a blessing it is to breathe. George Floyd, and I definitely won't go to sleep. Breonna Taylor. This is what we have to deal with. Anyway, let's just do a chant. Black Lives Matter!
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 Thank you.
Make some noise for Deanna, y'all. Come on, she got up here and was real vulnerable. Make some noise for Deanna, y'all. All right, we're gonna continue this going. We're gonna bring up Our from Solidarity North Shore. Make some noise for Our, y'all.
Hello.
That's not good enough. Make some more noise for Our, y'all.
Hello.
That's still not good enough. Make some noise for Our, y'all.
All right, y'all. How we feeling? Tonight, I can't help but think the state only mobilizes around dead Black people. Black people must be deprived of life to be worthy of our lives being fought for. Is that not cruel? For the Black existence only to exist in the frameworks of death. Revolution to some of you only exists in response to death. That is the largest difference between me and you. Every day I am seeking revolution. Every way I engage with every person I interact with in my entire life, I am seeking revolution. Revolution birthed out of the want for security, safety, and protection. Tonight, you want to hear me fight. But every day I fight. Every day I am in defense mode. Defense of my existence, not only of Blackness under state prosecution, but of the way whiteness expands into my daily interactions, in work, at school, at home, and more. Whiteness will swallow everything whole, and it will leave you empty. But today, and every day, I resist that. See, tonight I am tired. See, I am in revolution every time I breathe, but tonight I am sad. In this space tonight, or at least for part of it, I ask us to heal, to love, to take care, to move with intention. I ask us to interrogate whiteness, both in white people and non-Black people of color. I want to give space to ask, who tells our stories? By that, for Black people, I mean, who do we let into our spaces? Who do we give mics to? Who do we let have proximity to us? In the streets, in organizing spaces, and in social media, who consumes Black struggle and communicates it to the masses? And do we have any control over that? In the greater Boston area, we have to be honest with ourselves. It is white and non-Black people. Not until recently have these people shown up again. I'm sure you haven't been out here during the winter. I'm sure you haven't been out here in months. People have died in our state since winter, and none of you have been out here since months. Do you understand that? So tonight, I have to remind y'all, you are guests in our spaces. You are guests in our revolution. Fuck allies and fuck co-conspirators and fuck accomplices. Fuck this idea that you can support us if you cannot feel the weight of an anti-black system, if you cannot feel it in your voice, in your direct experience from moment to moment, in your name, in your ancestors. You could only ever be a guest in our liberation. I repeat, if you are non-black or white, you are a guest in my liberation. You are a guest to black liberation. Our black spaces have built comfort for non-black people to build community in, but community means nothing without the guaranteed safety and protection of black comrades. You have used our struggles and built yourselves homes of people, homes of connections, homes of safety and protection. All the meanwhile, black people have been left out to die. We are still dying in your hospitals. We are dying in your cars. We are dying in your schools. We are dying in your streets. We are dying in our homes. We are dying and dying and dying. And so listen to me closely. No one's liberation can bring about my liberation except black people's liberation. I will say that again. No one's liberation can bring about my liberation except black people's liberation. You cannot steal our revolutionary words and take it for your consumption. My liberation is your liberation, only applies to the black people in this space. Fuck the rest of y'all. Today, my voice will not list out the names of people lost by the state violence of our country, of our state, or of our cities. I will not steal and commodify their names to appeal to the white and non-black audiences in this space that want so deeply access to my grief, access to black grief. I do not have the space or the education on the life, history, and ancestry of the names of those lost, and I will not steal it. And if I were to, you would. You will steal their life and associate their name only to death. And I believe every name spoken deserves its own space in which the life of that person is unwrapped, in which you cannot steal from them. Because even in death, you steal from us. Because even in death, those names are unprotected and unsafe. You take all the words of black people, all our language to communicate our liberation, and you take it from us. You steal it, you deny us things we have created. White and non-black people, you do not have access to take from black people as you please. You cannot take our words. We may all feel the burden and weight of capitalism and white supremacy, but we do not all have anti-black systems against us, upheld by both white and non-black people. Black people in every continent breathe. Black people in every country breathe. Black people in every city breathe. In every language, in every expression, in every location we exist, we breathe. We grieve the violence of white and non-black people. We are in constant defense of our lives, our existence, and our right to life in ways non-black people and white people will never understand the depth of. This leads me to my next point of interrogation. Who manipulates the narrative? Who do we listen to? Who do you let lead? Who do you let weave our story of our struggle? Who fabricates our reality? See, tonight I am thinking of what has built the black fight. With our protests, chants, shoes on the pavement, and speeches. And so we grieve and so we love, but when the fuck do we fight? The fight for justice is endless. It is not bound to today. It is not bound to the death of these people. It is every day. It is a lifetime. In the United States and across the world, it is bound to the existence of blackness and indigenous people, to living and enduring the structures of white supremacy at its lowest rungs. Justice does not exist to absolve the perpetrators of violence. It exists to mend and heal the generational wounds of the victims. It is about anchoring peace and making amendments. Tonight is about honoring life in the best way we can. It is about thinking of all those lost from police brutality across the United States, including Massachusetts. It is honoring life in the best way blackness knows how to. It is fighting. The United States violence is endless. It cannot end until this nation and the global exploitation it runs on ends. It cannot end until we resist all the lies that whiteness has created us to see us fall. See, this fight is all about resistance. Resistance from the violent narrative this country weaves, from the erasure of indigenous people and land we stand on, whose simple existence in history delegitimizes the settler colonial state. Resistance from the labor and exploitation of black people globally that began with the enslavement of Africans 400 years ago and continues worldwide to this day. Resistance from the prosecution of non-Christian religions and belief systems, from the attacks on the Asian community who have been used as scapegoats for the United States, for this country to hide from being held accountable for the thousands of deaths, to build an overarching resistance against capitalism that has manipulated race, class, and religion to unleash harms for centuries. Resistance is a struggle of fighting against the millions of weapons that whiteness has had to create over and over again. Black people know this resistance too well. It is in our blood, it is in our history, it is in our birthright, it is in our rights. Fighting is never something we will be absolved of because simply our features, our hair, and our skin will always remind us that we must oppose all that goes against us to move forward. Our existence is opposition against the United States and against the entire global north. Our lives, our bodies are tied to being a collective and to collectively fight against all this country's violence serves. The violence that keeps this false nation protected. For the United States to fall institutionally, we must abolish its policing of our bodies, of our lives under the guise of violence it uses to keep us controlled, to keep us strayed from liberation and from unification and from the peace of the collective. Humanity's strongest ties are not to false nations of violence, they are to the land we inhabit, they are to the earth and the life it keeps protected in its spheres. We are not invested in our oppression, we are only held back by it. It's why they police blackness and all for what? Fear. 400 years of historical evidence of fear for black people in our liberation. They police us the hardest because every time we bloom and resist, we manage to tear parts of it apart. Piece by piece, this entire facade will be shred by our hands. They fear our liberation because ever since the ideas of continent, nations, and collective identities were imposed on African people, we arose to resist. It's why they are so insistent on breaking us apart. It's why they continue to draw borders in our land and our identity, ensuring that black people internationally will never feel security, safety, and protection as long as white supremacy and capitalism remains in power. It is why we never stop fighting. Even when most of you stop, we cannot. We organize for survival. It is why we must build to make an effort to make community, mutual aid that keeps people fed, our people housed, and our people financially stable within the infrastructure of this country. Organizing that keeps us visible in courtrooms, classrooms, and in the street. Organizing that keeps us in houses with stomachs full of food, safe and protected. White people and non-black people, as guests in our revolution, what are you doing for us? What can you do to keep community protected and safe? When they try to keep us poor, we organize. When they try to keep us houseless, we organize. When they deny food and water, we organize. When they threaten existence and living, we organize. Because I believe that when we organize, we can, fuck that we will, make this entire country obsolete.
Make some noise for all y'all. All right, up next, I'm gonna bring up Solon, who is gonna shed more light on the Moses Harris situation. Come on up, man. Make some noise for Solon, y'all. A little bit louder. Make some noise for Solon, y'all.
Hi. So, as some of you may know, a bunch of us came here directly from a funeral service in Lowell for. My voice is shot. Okay. So as some of you may know, a bunch of us came directly from a funeral service in Lowell for a 25-year-old man named Moses Harris who was killed by Lowell PD on December 19th. I don't want to go too much into the case and instead just really celebrate his life because that's what he deserved most. But what I will say is Lowell PD have lied to his family and to the media and to us. They have threatened to arrest all of us protesting. They have threatened his family. They are really just trying to scare them as much as fucking possible, and it is ridiculous, and we need to do something to protect people because these people live here, they belong here, and they will always fucking be here. So if you want to help support Moses and his family right now, we do have protests every Saturday in Lowell. There are flyers, I know they're about on FFC's Instagram, a bunch of organizations, but it's at 850 Lawrence Street. starting at 12 o'clock. Show up. We need bodies. We need people. You say you stand for Black lives. This shit doesn't just happen in other in other states. It happens right fucking here, over and over and over again. But we like to pretend it doesn't. I was out all winter and I saw y'all disappear. I saw protests get smaller. I saw mutual aid go down. Come on, we can't only fight for Black lives when it's warm out. We have to be there all the fucking time. Thank you.
Make some noise for Solar, y'all. Hold on. Make some noise for Solar, y'all.
All right.
Like Solar was saying, we got mutual aid every Friday over by Melnia Cass and Mass Ave. Actually, my man right here, Domingos, right here, raise your hand, bro. He's also really about making the neighborhood better, both through mutual aid and holding motherfuckers accountable. We're no longer doing one, we're doing both. So make some noise for the community, y'all.
That's a wonderful city councilor.
We got one more speaker. Make some noise for him, y'all. Make a little noise for him, y'all. A little bit louder.
What's going on, guys? Thank you. That was a really warm welcome. Probably the best one I've gotten so far. So I want to start off by greeting you all and saying peace be upon you all, especially to my Black and brown and indigenous siblings. Peace be upon all the comrades and allies that are with us here today, and most of all, peace be upon those who have left us early due to state-sanctioned violence. To God we belong, and to Him we shall return. I love being Black, but God damn is it exhausting. And I am really trying hard to refrain from cussing because I am observing Ramadan. But it's really, really disheartening when we have to wake up every day to a new name or new names of our siblings being killed at the hands of the pigs. Every single day, whether it's here in the States or elsewhere, Palestine,